Hello, and welcome to Conquering Finale. My name is Jason Lafredo, and once again, we are dealing with staff tool strategies. We're still looking at staff groups today, and specifically, I'm going to look at the setup for organs because this is somewhat unique, and I thought it would be worth looking at because Finale does this in an interesting way. So, actually, let's go into the score manager, and I'm going to add the three staff organs. So, just underneath my piano, I'll choose Add Instrument, Keyboards, and we have two organs here. There's the regular organ and the organ 2 staff. The regular organ actually has 3 staffs. And once that loads, you'll see that we have our organ part here. And if we open up this triangle now, we'll actually see that there's 3 staffs. So we have 2 staffs for the right and left hands, and then 1 staff for the feet for the pedals, right? And if we look down here in the score where I added this organ, Finale pretty much sets this up correctly, particularly per Gould, who suggests that you brace the right and left hands in the organ and connect the bar lines, but you separate out the pedal so that the bar lines are not connected and the pedal does not get the brace. So this is kind of set up exactly correctly, except for the fact that she suggests that this should actually read manual and there should be a marking here that reads pedal. But I'll show you how to fix that in a second. But the thing I really want to get to is what's going on with the groups here, because there's actually two different groups. There is a regular group that looks like a piano grouping, which is set up exactly the same way, except that it says organ instead of piano. So you have the brace here, the bar lines are connected. You can see the piano right above. It looks exactly the same. So this is set up exactly the same. So if we look at this in the group attributes, you'll see it's encompassing those 2 staffs. We have the full group name. Bar lines are drawn through staffs. Only hide if all staffs are empty. This is exactly the way a piano would be set up. But there is a third group, and if you look at my handles here, there's this sort of rogue handle over here, and we know that if there's a handle with no bracket or brace, that means that there's a group that exists there that is not using a bracket. So if I double-click that handle, that should take me to the group attributes for this overall grouping of the organ. And you'll see that it actually says organ all staves in parentheses. And we can go into the list here and see that there is indeed 2 different organ groups, right? First of all, we're able to see the organ all staves in this list, even though the name does not appear, because it actually filled in the full group and abbreviated names here with organ parentheses all staves, but it just unchecks show group name. This is, I think, just to help you identify which of these, numbered groups is actually the ones you're looking for. Theoretically, by the way, you could do that with all of your other groups, and it might be a little easier to navigate this little menu here. The other thing to realize is that let's look at this organ all staves group. These 2 settings here for hiding and drawing bar lines, right? So for the 3 staff all staves organ grouping, it's showing that the draw bar lines only on staffs, right? However, the organ grouping is showing to draw bar lines through staffs. So this is actually what's allowing Finale to draw the bar lines through the right and left hands here, but not draw it through the pedal staff there. If we were to take that 3 staff organ group, the all staffs organ group, and change this to draw through staves, then it would indeed draw that bar line all the way through. And essentially, what's happening is that if the other group wasn't there, if this organ group wasn't there, then the overall setting for the draw bar line only on staffs was applied to all 3 staffs. Because there's an extra grouping that's using the through staffs option, then it's sort of overriding just for those 2 staffs, if that makes sense. And then the other important thing to realize is that both of these groups, the organ and the organ all staffs group, use the option to only hide if all staffs are empty. This is important if you need to be hiding staffs, because with this organ all staffs grouping set to only hide if all staffs are empty, you would never be able to actually hide that pedal staff if you had just the manuals going for a long time without the pedal. So if you had 32 bars without pedal, if you needed to hide that pedal, you'd have to go into this larger 3 staff group and make sure that this is set to hide normally. Now you can still keep the organ grouping to only hide if all staffs are empty. And again, it works the same way with the bar lines. It would only be these 2 staffs that are sort of linked together as far as hiding is concerned. You'd still be able to just hide the pedal staff when it's set up like this, if that makes sense. Now, I mentioned that Gould actually suggests that the names be different here. She suggests that this organs label says manual, and there should be another label here that says pedal. Well, it's relatively easy to fix. Just go into the organ grouping, and you can just change organ to manual. Let's change the abbreviation to MAN. Okay. And you should be good to go. Now, the one thing that's weird about this is that when you do this, when you change the group name, it does actually change the part name too. So if I were to go into this, the edit parts list, since I added this last, that's why the organ's all the way down here. Now it says manual, not organ. So if you're going to do something like that, you would have to go into the manage parts window, find that part, and then edit the part name, and then recall it organ. It will not work the other way. So once you rename it here, it's not like this. The group name is going to change. So now you actually will see manual, and you'll see organ appropriately in the linked parts. Okay. So now that we have the manual here, we just need to put the staff label here for pedal. Now you're not going to use a group name here. You're actually going to use a staff name. And the way that we actually need to do this is to go back into the score manager, and for this organ part, make sure that this triangle is open. If it wasn't, just make sure it's open so that we can see all three staffs. And then we have to choose the third staff, which is the pedal staff, and change the name on this staff. So we do it down here, and we'll call this pedal for the full name, and we'll call it ped for the abbreviated name. All right, so there we go. And that should allow us to see the name pedal here, right? Now, the final thing to remember is that the groups, once they've been generated to linked parts, they're completely independent. So all of these changes I made to this group that says manual are not going to be made in the linked part. So now if I go over into my new linked part for the organ, you'll see that it does not say manual, it says organ, right? Because again, this group is now completely independent after it's been generated. So you'd have to make the change here as well and do the same thing, call this manual, MAN, and you're good to go. And of course, you will not see the staff name on the part. That's because the staff attributes usually will have the staff name and parts unchecked. So with this pedal staff, if you also wanted to see this in the part like this, you'd have to check that, and you'll get the pedal there as well. Now, it's not usual to show staff or group names in a part, but if you needed to do it, this is how you would. And of course, when you do something like this, you'll have to deal with the spacing. These margins are going to be too small to accommodate for the name, so you'd have to change all that. Otherwise, you can just, again, if you don't want to see it, just uncheck staff name and parts for the pedal staff. And for the manual group, now remember, this is an independent group compared to the score, so whatever settings you make here is not going to affect the score. So now you can just uncheck show group name, and you can have your organs set up just like this without the names in the part, but they will still appear in the score the way you want it to. So here's another idea. I don't know if this is actually correct to do this, but I'm gonna do something here that may be possible. So I'm actually gonna change both of these groups around a little bit to give you something else. So in this two staff group here, what I'm gonna do is actually not show the group name, and I'm going to have no bracket, but I'm gonna leave the draw bar lines through staffs here, right? So the only thing I'm doing here is drawing bar lines through staffs for this group, and you can see just that. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to tell Finale to not show the staff name in the score in this case, right? And then the last thing I'm going to do is take that 3-staff group, the organ all staffs group, and I am going to use the brace. Now remember, these groups are independent from the score and the part, so I'm only changing this in the score, and I'm only thinking about this possibly as maybe it could be clearer for the conductor who's looking at this and realizing that this is a 3-staff organ part. So we can take the all staffs out of the name here and just call it organ and ORG period. And in this group now, which consists of 3 staffs, I'm going to show the group name. And I've chosen the bracket there. And so in this case, what I've done here is actually added a group that does not have the correct spacing here, but we can fix that, 0.04. For the brace there, I've created a instrument that looks maybe a little bit better for the conductor to, if you're looking at a score like this, you can realize that all 3 of these instruments are now, or all 3 of these staves are now braced together for the organ. Now, this is not, again, this is probably not the correct way to do this, but this would be an interesting alternate way to do this for a conductor that might be confused by the fact that the first two staffs are braced, but the third one is not. And again, with the part, nothing will change because these groups are completely independent. So now you go into your organ part, and it's actually set up the way you wanted it to. And in fact, you could actually show the staff name in parts for the pedal and show the group name here, manual, in the part. So now you can actually see the correct way to do this in the part, but the quote unquote incorrect way to do this in the organ. Again, all of these groups are completely independent, once they've been generated between the score and parts. So that's an interesting alternate way of doing this. I'm sort of manipulating the groups in a unique way to make this happen, but that's how you would do that. So yeah, so that's the group setups for organs. It is a little bit confusing just because there's actually two groups on a three-staff organ. So I think having this knowledge now will help you if you have to make some changes to these organ groupings and whatnot in a specific way like this or some other way that you can think of. But yeah, so that's the idea of what's going on there. I hope that helps. All right, so once again, thanks for watching. My name is Jason Lafredo, and this has been Staff Tool Strategies. I think I'm going to come back for the next video. We're going to talk about the actual bracket and brace design for the piano brace here. So that will be an interesting little advanced video there. So if you're interested in that, come back for the next video. Otherwise, I will see you soon on the next one. Thanks for watching.